This meeting is being recorded.
That was interesting.
I know.
Well, welcome everybody to the RNCC meeting here on Monday, May 8th. It's 7 p.m. The Warriors are playing the Lakers, so we can archive that. Before we start the meeting, we want from the RNCC to let you know that if you're not a member of your neighborhood council, you may not be able to get your questions in. And we're asking people to be respectful of others with their language and be short with your questions and get right to the point so we can respect others. So that being said, we've got 16 people. While we're waiting for our Garland, I guess we can go through and do introductions. So Jan, if you want to start it off and pass it on.
Oh, I have to start off. Okay. I'm Jan Mignoni. I'm the president of the North and East Neighborhood Council, and I'm the treasurer for the RNCC. We had a meeting the end of last month, and we had our pal and their farm and garden and the unhoused for the young kids. There was a whole bunch of people there. Interesting concept, interesting idea. You know, I'm fine to support anything like that that's going on, but you know, and then yesterday we had kind of a next door conversation going on about the fountain at Clinton Hill. So we all met at Berg Park and had a conversation about, you know, what can we put there? What can we do? How can we make it look better? You know, bring some of the history back to the neighborhood that's there. So we've been, and we're going to have our picnic in September. So we've got a lot going on at the moment.
Naomi.
Good evening. My name is Naomi Williams, and I'm the president of the Pullman neighborhood.
All right, Rita.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Garetha, but everybody calls me Rita, and I'm the president of Parchester Neighborhood Council and a director at large for the RNCC.
Oh, and the vice president of the RNCC. Sorry.
Well, I'm glad I brought that to your mind. And we don't have our meeting until tomorrow. So the only thing that's going on that I can report is we're going to have our first district meeting at the Parchester Community Center on the 20th this month. Great. And that's all.
Aaron? Aaron, you, Osario?
Good evening, everybody. Aaron Osario, Deputy Fire Chief, Richmond Fire Department.
All right. Dave Alvarado.
Dave Alvarado, Vice President of the Board of Directors for West County Wastewater.
Battalion Chief Rankin.
Rico Rincon, Laurel Park neighborhood resident, and also serve as Battalion Chief for your Richmond Fire Department.
Josephine.
Okay. Josephine Velasquez, Vice President, May Valley Neighborhood Council and RNCC Corresponding Secretary and Interim Recording Secretary.
Bryce.
It is. Hi, this is Bryce Alamon. I'm representing Richmond, Metro Square and Richmore Village. Nothing to report this week.
Carlos.
Hello, Carlos Castro, Construction and Maintenance Supervisor for the City of Richmond Streets Maintenance Division.
LaShonda.
Sorry about that. Good evening, everyone. LaShonda White, Deputy City Manager, City of Richmond.
Lisa Johnson.
Lisa Johnson, First Vice President, Point Richmond Neighborhood Council.
Lori Hart.
Good evening. I am the Director at Large for RNCC and the Secretary for PVNC, which is the Parchester Village Neighborhood Council behind me. And as Rita mentioned, we're having our first district meeting at our Parchester Community Center, which is 900 Williams Drive. So for all of those who are part of District 2, please come out from 10 a.m. to noon.
All right, Lieutenant Donovan.
Donovan Decious, Lieutenant from Richmond. Sorry about the casual attire. I had a long weekend for Cinco de Mayo Festival and Parade, so thank you.
All good. Mayor's Office, Shiva.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Shiva Mishek. I use she, her pronouns. I'm Chief of Staff to Mayor Eduardo Martinez and also a resident of the North and East neighborhood in Richmond.
Okay, Omar.
Hi, everyone. My name is Omar Rascon. I'm with the City Manager's Office, Environmental and Health Initiatives Department. Just a few updates. Back to Work Day is May 18th. Our solid waste management survey is still live. We would like to encourage everyone to please complete it and share within your network. Taste of Richmond is scheduled for July 15th. The event is also looking for partnerships, and AC Transit Realigned survey is also out. So we do encourage residents to take the survey because it will guide the future of AZ Transit as they start planning routes and making changes to their programs.
Okay, and Stephanie Nye.
Hello, everyone. Stephanie Nye, City of Richmond Community Services Department, Recreation Division.
And Suzanne Coffey.
Hi, everyone. Suzanne Coffey. I'm Treasurer of Santa Fe Neighborhood Council, and I do not have a report at this time.
Okay, have I missed anyone? My name is Ardo Rentila. I'm the current president of the RNCC, president of the Fairmead Hilltop Neighborhood Council, and I also sit on West County Wastewater Board with Director Dave Alvarado. Now that we've made introductions, our information officer, I don't see him on here, so we'll have to make the introductions later when he gets on. I guess we'll have to move on to reports from city staff. So Shiva, if you'd like to start it off.
Thanks so much for having me. Good to see you all this month. So I just wanted to provide a brief update on what we've been working on over the past month. As many of you know, given that the presentation at the last meeting was around the budget, that's something that our office has been focusing on and working with the city manager's office. I thought I would take this opportunity to share with you all some of the budget priorities that the mayor's office put forward. And so I'll go over them very briefly. Feel free to follow up with any questions. So one thing that we have asked the city, that we've been working with the city manager's office on, is a more thorough sidewalk repair and installation plan throughout the city. I think all of us throughout particularly began to enjoy outdoor spaces during the pandemic. It's come to our attention that there are huge areas of Parchester Village that don't have sidewalks at all. We're concerned about accessibility for residents in Richmond being able to walk on the streets. And so that's one place where we're hoping to make some significant investments this year, is in sidewalk repair and creation, and making them ADA compliant and so on. Another is around beginning to assess our wastewater system and storm drainage. So, we have different wastewater systems that, or different wastewater infrastructure and throughout the city. The company that runs ours in Point Richmond is Veolia. We've started looking at the contract with Veolia is up in 2027. And so we're looking at, what further updates need to be made to the facility, how is compliance going? And so part of the funding we've asked for is to really begin examining in a different way, and then also around storm drainage, what's the safety mechanisms and safety upgrades needed for, the increasing storms we're seeing, flooding, our wastewater system, compliance with Veolia, and so on. Another place that we've asked for significant investment is around the library. So the city has received a huge grant to rebuild our library, about $10 million. And so we're working to see how we can leverage more funds, perhaps use some ARPA money and some general fund money to really upgrade our library and make it a beautiful, usable space for Richmond residents. And a couple more I'll name that we have a long list of budgetary priorities. I could go on for a while, but another one is to really begin investing city services in small business and development, a small business development division. So, we hear a lot about how small businesses in particular have a hard time navigating some of the city's processes around permitting, around code enforcement, and also just being aware of what opportunities are available in the city in terms of, finding a property or location and so on. So we've started to work on what are some city staff that we can get, what are some assets we can put together to make it easier for small businesses to really thrive in Richmond. And that also dovetails with our priority that I know a lot of people share of reinvesting in downtown, but also in different little economic nodes throughout the city. And then the last one I'll name, and this is something that we are bringing to City Council on May 16th to begin early conversations on, is to really begin examining the rental inspection process in the city. Right now, landlords have to pay a fee in order to have their properties inspected by the city. We are seeing issues with inspection compliance from the firm that does those inspections. Landlords are also paying this fee, but then being asked to self-certify. So we're finding that unfair. We're also hearing a lot of issues of tenants having mold and rodent infestations and other issues, and an issue with responsiveness around code enforcement. So, we're next council meeting beginning a conversation about what the processes are and how we can sort of tighten up the process and possibly the legal language, but then also through the budget, looking at some investments we can make to make the process smoother for all stakeholders, to make sure properties are safe and habitable, but then also landlords have more support in navigating this code enforcement. So those are some of the things we're working on the budget side. And really the budget, I think, is taking up a lot of people's concentration right now. And I just want to communicate that the mayor was really excited about how Cinco de Mayo went. It was really fun for us to participate, and we were really happy to get to do it in our first few months in office. I'm happy to take any questions or add any detail to anything I just named.
I don't see any hands up just yet, so I'll ask the first question anyway. I know there's a huge push for housing in California, and we have had issues with distribution centers throughout Northern California, some of them being vacant, being built, taking up valuable property and real estate. Is there a possible move to create a moratorium on distribution centers? And can you speak to that?
Yeah, we're looking into that right now. We're looking into it. I'm trying to think of the most efficient way to answer that question. The mayor's office has interest in doing a moratorium around distribution centers. It's something that Richmond over the past 5 to 10 years has heavily invested in, both in terms of soliciting developers around distribution centers, but then also some of the job training that we've supported in employment and training has been around distribution centers and warehousing. And we're seeing a huge contraction in that market. And so, we're seeing, issues with warehousing being successful economic drivers for cities. So that's one piece. There's also, of course, as you're saying, warehousing taking up a lot of space that could be used for housing. And then, of course, it's also a quality of life thing for the neighborhoods that house distribution centers, right? There's environmental issues and so on. And so the interest is there. What we're looking into it legally, basically. To have a moratorium, you have to show cause as to why there's a sort of emergency reason to create a moratorium. And so we're looking into it with our planning department and with the city attorney's office. So I know that's not a perfect answer, but the answer is we're looking into it and seeing how we can get it done and whether it makes sense and whether it would be citywide or a certain part of the city and so on. So we'll have updates on that in the next month.
Thank you. Lori, you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Shiva. You mentioned that you guys were looking into sidewalks and lack thereof and sidewalk compliance in Parkchester. And my question is, with the compliance, is that in regards to AC Transit and the sidewalks?
I'm so sorry. The last part cut out when you were actually saying your question.
Oh, I was saying, you talked about the sidewalk compliance. And I said, is that in regards to AC Transit and the bus stops with the compliance or lack thereof?
So we're looking at all of it. So how does it, is the city compliant with the American Disabilities Act, for instance? What are the ways that the sidewalks would interact with, as you're saying, public transit? We've heard about, for instance, people that have to wait for the bus in the street, which we find unacceptable. And that's why it's going to take a lot of time and investment, is even just studying how do all these pieces fit together will take some money and time. But we're hoping that we can tap other agencies that are responsible for transportation to work with us on this to get funding, but also give insight as to, okay, where all the stops, the bus stops, are those places where people can safely wait, and so on. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Lisa Johnson.
Thanks, Arda. Shiva, I appreciated hearing your comments about trying to explore the rental inspection process. I know there are a lot of frustrated housing providers around that. And so I was just curious if you could elaborate on why there are now no longer any housing providers or homeowners on the rent board. In fact, they're all 5 tenants, and that was how they signed their applications, that none of them own property.
I'm sorry, did Lisa just cut out for me?
Can you repeat that? You froze up.
Yeah, she's still frozen. So Lisa, she's trying to answer your question, but her computer has frozen up.
I think your question scared her off. We'll see if she comes back. I guess if you don't mind, Lisa, we can move on, and if she comes back, we'll circle around and ask her the question again.
Yeah, no problem, Arda.
Thank you. So it looks like our information officer has shown up. If you'd like to introduce yourself, Garland, and let everybody know who you are and what you have to tell us.
Hello, my name is Garland Ellis. I'm president of the Richmond Annex Neighborhood Council and also the information officer for the RNCC. There's no announcements from any of the public, but there's quite a few announcements from the mayor's office, or actually not the mayor's office, the manager's office. And so
Hey, can I
Much of
stop
this
you right there?
information can be found there.
Can I stop you right there, Garland?
Yep.
It looks like Shiva came back. So would you like to ask your question again, Lisa?
I think I heard Lisa's question, but feel free to repeat it if you're concerned I didn't.
Oh, I was just appreciative of the fact that you mentioned that you're interested in trying to figure out ways to shore up the rental inspection process and to provide some relief for housing providers as well along that lines. But I think there are a lot of housing providers that are extremely concerned with the fact that you guys just appointed 5 new rent board members, none of which represent homeowners or housing providers. They all filled out their applications noting that they do not own property. So, you know, Measure L has homeowners protection in the title, and yet there is absolutely no protection right now on the rent board or representation. So I would love to hear an explanation as to why. Thank you.
Of course. No, that's a great question. Thank you. And apologies for my internet cutting out. Questions are actually the most exciting part to me. So currently we do have one homeowner. I'm looking at her application and she may have, I'll double check it, but my understanding is we have one homeowner on there. And so let me answer this clearly. Our intent was actually to not exclude homeowners or landlords at all. We actually reached out to, I want to say 5 or 6 different landlords that we thought may be interested, and they all said that they did not have capacity at the time. But one of our tenants actually we just realized she is primarily Spanish speaking, and we realized that it would be too difficult to translate all materials. So long story short, we do have a 5th slot that just opened up, and we're still open to recruiting homeowners, landlords, tenants. I'm happy to share all of the applications that we received for the rent board. We didn't get any homeowners or landlords aside from the one homeowner that we did appoint. So despite how it looks, our intention was actually not to just do tenants. Those are the applications we received. And so we interviewed based on that. But again, there's now a 5th spot open, and we are happy to take applications. So I encourage anyone who's interested in serving on the rent board, or who has a person they know who's a homeowner, a landlord who wants to serve on the rent board, please feel free to apply. I will say that our one priority there is to make sure that we appoint people who believe in at least the concept of rent control. I'll say that openly. We believe that because this is an ordinance that was voted in by voters overwhelmingly, that it makes sense that the people who administer this program, or at least oversee the budget, believe that it's something that should exist. Whereas on the last rent board, which I served on, we had 2 members who did not believe rent control as a concept should exist. So happy to have landlords, happy to have homeowners, absolutely, but we do want to recruit people who believe in the program and want to make it run effectively for all stakeholders. But there's certainly no rule in the mayor's office that we don't want landlords or homeowners.
Well, thank you for that. Is there anything else you'd like to add from the mayor's office before we let you go?
No, but happy to take any more questions, and feel free, of course, to reach out to me or anyone else in the mayor's office if you'd like to discuss anything further. And if not, I'll see you all next month.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, Garland, back to you. Sorry for the interruption, but
no problem. There's several events coming up as the weather's getting better. The food bank will be Thursday, 5/11. The citywide garage sale will be the 13th. There's a program by the UC Gardner on soil. This will be at the 32nd Street and McDonald Recreation Center, it's between 12 and 1:30 on 5/13. There's a senior health fair on 5/17 at the Richmond Auditorium. There's a career fair at the Hilltop Community Church on 5/20. And this is from 10 to 2. There is a AARP driver course primarily for seniors. This will be held at the Annex Senior Center on June the 27th between 9 and 1:30. You do have to sign up for this ahead of time, and it's limited to, I believe, 20 people or 15 people. So you need to get your name in. Also, PG&E has a fire mitigation plan that they're presenting to the PUC. That includes the areas around Richmond. You have until 5/26 to get your comments in. There's a website to get more information. There's a website to post your comments. All of this is at the city manager's website. Also, there's a survey for solid waste. And this is by you can get more information at richmondenvironmental.org or also at the city manager's website. And that's pretty much what's going on the next month. There's also a lot of recreation programs for children, school-age children, and seniors. And there's a whole lot of them mentioned on the website for the city, both in the recreation department and for the city manager.
Great. I'd also like to add that the Fairmead Hilltop Neighborhood Council will be having a career fair on May 20th, which is a Saturday from 10 to 2. Last year, we had 21 unions there and Prologis and a few other county and city agencies. So if you know anybody looking for a career or any employers looking to hire, please send them my way and we'll make it happen. So thank you for that, Garland, by the way. And so next up, we have Carlos from Public Works.
Hello again, Carlos Castro, Construction and Maintenance Supervisor for the City of Richmond Streets Maintenance Division. For updates, I have this morning, some routes might not have got swept because of the rain, but looking at the weather, we should be back to sweeping normal schedules starting tomorrow. For paving, we are back to paving finally. Thank goodness we got a break in the rain. Our first job that we did this year was 13th Street between Garvin and Pennsylvania. And then we also paved Portola from Pennsylvania to 15th. We reinstalled the speed humps that were out there. And then tomorrow the sign shop should be reinstalling the striping that goes with the speed humps that are on 13th Street. This week we are paving Colette Drive in the Hilltop area. I'm sorry, I don't have my notes because I'm taking care of 2 sick boys, so I didn't actually go to work today. And then sign shop, we attempted to restripe 23rd while it was closed this week, but because of the rain, we weren't able to do it. That was a major goal that we had, but because of the rain, we weren't able to do it. I wish we were. It would have came out nice and looked really good. But this Saturday, there's a section of Castro Street that connects to Richmond Parkway that we're going to have a small detour. We're going to be working on the Bay Trail detour, installing some concrete K-rails there. So if you're driving that way this Saturday, just be mindful. It's just going to be a small detour. We'll have traffic turn right onto Hensley and then turn left right back onto the Parkway. So just be mindful of that. We'll have all the signage out there. Other than that, there isn't really any updates on my end. You already know that if you want anything refreshed or a street added to the paving list or repairs, you can email me or call me directly. If there's anything new that you want installed, a lot of people want speed humps. I know there's a lot of talk about the traffic safety improvement. Anything new is going to come from our engineering staff. So you would start with them with the ENG email. I'll put that in the chat once I'm done with my updates. Hopefully my iPad doesn't die. But you start with them for anything new, and then they would issue the work order after they do their investigation. They would issue the work order for us to install it. Other than that, I don't really have any other updates.
Okay, Lisa, you have your hand up?
Thanks. Hey, Carlos.
Hey.
Question. So you know that Seacliff Drive, and I've been working with you guys on always reinstalling the delineators and trying to get the 15-mile-per-hour sharp right turn signs.
Yep.
So, okay, so the accident that I was afraid was going to happen happened. Thank God the bicyclist didn't get killed. So the car blew all the way through the delineators, went over the median, over the Bay Trail, and crashed right before the sidewalk on the canal side. So how do we do I need a new request? Or is this an extension? Because I talked to RPD and they recommended that the delineators go way further up the hill. And they also recommended having several signs installed. It's such a dangerous curve, and we have so much new traffic from people visiting Miller Knox Park that people take this curve way too fast and somebody's going to get killed.
Right. So did you apply for the traffic permit with Ken in engineering? Do you know? It's not a traffic permit. It's a traffic request, I think it's called. Did you apply for that with Ken? Do you know?
I mean, we've had this on the list of all of the projects we've requested over here. So it's been submitted as part of that list. So that's what I'm just trying to figure out, what is the best way to get this addressed, because somebody's going to get killed.
I'll email Ken and check on it, and I'll let you know what I come up with.
Okay, thanks. And then I can submit whatever I need to.
Okay, I'll email Ken and I'll see where it's at.
Okay, thank you, Carlos.
No problem.
Seeing no hands raised, I have a question for you, Carlos. So how are we doing with the street sweeping signs? Do they all read the same? Do we have enough to start going around town? And what happened to the street sweeping program?
Well, the street sweeping program never stopped. The citations did stop. That was just an order that was issued, which we actually don't handle the citations in the street maintenance department. That's parking enforcement. But the street maintenance or the street sweeping always continued. As far as the signage, I know that was something that was in the works before, making sure that all city neighborhoods were signed. I don't know where that's at now with new council members, new staff. I honestly do not know where that's at now.
Okay, because one of the issues were that the signs were read differently in different neighborhoods and that they weren't all uniform across the city. So I was just
wondering. Different sizes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
okay.
I have no update there.
That's all good. Thank you. Suzanne?
Hi there. I just had a question. We're here in Santa Fe, and right now East Bay Mud is doing their Ohio Streets node, or whatever they're calling, where they're doing all the new pipes. And so I'm just curious, when they're through with that, it's supposed to be through in June of 2023. Is there a paving feature that's part of that? Are they going to come back in and repave all the streets that they've worked on? Or do you know, or if that's part of the plan? Because it's kind of a mess with that little strip, you know.
Yeah, it's all over town, actually. So what East Bay Mud will do is pave about 12 feet. So it's going to be, depending on where the water line runs, it'll either be 12 feet from the gutter, or it'll be a 12-foot section down the middle of the street, depending on where the water line runs. And then what we're in the process of doing, because we've had our paving list that we keep, it's basically a running list that we keep, and it lasts about 3 to 5 years before we get through it. So what we're going to do, we have a quarterly meeting with East Bay Mud, which we just had last week. We're going to go and scope out what jobs, if they're going to pave half of the street, what we would like to do is just pave the other half of the street right after they're done. That would be our goal, because then the whole street would be done, and we can and basically the city only had to pay for half of it. So that's what our attempt is going to be. It might not work out on all the streets, because we have some really bad streets that East Bay Mud isn't working on that we need to pave. So that would be our goal right now.
So their responsibility, at least, is to have those little strips where the pipe is overpave all of that to come up flush with the existing side of the street where they didn't do the work on.
Correct.
So they will put a real piece of pavement over their little canal everywhere and not just
Yes.
have that chopped up strip. Okay,
Yes.
just curious. Thank you so much.
If you happen to be around the 42nd McDonald Roosevelt area, they just did that section a couple weeks ago, and that's what your street would look like. It'll be, in some neighborhoods it'll be half the street, and some neighborhoods it'll just be 12 feet. It just depends where the pipe is at in the street.
Yeah. Okay, I'll have a look at that. You said Roosevelt and
42nd, I believe it was 42nd, 41st.
Okay, I'll have a look. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
I'd like to add to that, East Bay Mud has told us at my neighborhood council meeting and at the RNCC meeting that they actually pay the city of Richmond to fix the streets after they've gone over them. So basically it falls on the city's shoulders to repair the streets completely.
There was some things we did a couple of years ago that were beneficial to both of us, but we're not doing those anymore because record keeping was just a mess.
Right.
So now we're just East Bay Mud, complete your part, and we'll come in and do the rest.
Right. Well, thank you. Thank you. Anybody else have a question? Oh, Suzanne, your hand's still up, or you're good? Okay. So thank you, Carlos. I guess we'll move on to Stephanie Nye from planning. Thanks again, Carlos.
No problem.
Hello, this is Stephanie Nye from Recreation, not from Planning.
My bad.
No problem. So hi, everybody. The Recreation Division has been really, really busy with new programs and events, upcoming seasonal programs and events, and then just our everyday programs as well. So I'm going to try to get through everything as fast as possible, just the highlights, but it's still a lot. So for our upcoming seasonal programs, we have summer camp from June 12th to August 2023 from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And registrations opened on May 1st. This is for students aged kindergarten through 8th grade. And registration continues to be open. Please contact our registration office if you'd like to enroll. We're also launching a new program called Youth Outdoors Richmond this summer. This is for middle and high schoolers who want to spend the summer outdoors at various local and regional parks, as well as participate in overnight camping. So we will have 2 cohorts this summer from June 19th through 30th, as well as July 17th through 28th. And this program is completely free to participants. In partnership with R&R Hospitality Academy, we will be serving lunch for seniors every Thursday from 12 to 1 for free to seniors who are registered in our program. And that takes place at the Richmond Senior Center, 2525 McDonald Avenue. The Recreation Division is also conducting a recreation survey to hear from you about our programs, services, and special events that we offer throughout the year. The survey ends on May 26th, and I'm going to be posting the link in the chat after I'm done with these announcements. I also want to remind everybody that we have the Love Your Block in-kind sponsorship program available on a rolling basis. This provides up to $1,000 of supplies for volunteer-based beautification projects. So if you want to install like a little free library, you want to spruce up a community garden, you want to host a park cleanup, this will be a perfect opportunity to have a lot of those costs taken care of through Love Your Block. For upcoming special events, we have a whole bunch coming up. As Garland mentioned, we have the citywide garage sale. This is our first annual garage sale happening this Saturday, May 13th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. We have 87 garage sales registered, and the online interactive map is now available as of Saturday, May 6th. And we also just published a printable version for those who prefer a hard copy. And I will post the link to the garage sale webpage in the chat when I'm done. Also, as Garland mentioned, the Soil the Universe Beneath Your Feet workshop is this Saturday, 12 to 1:30. It's a workshop about our soil ecosystems, plant vitality, and sustainable gardening practices, hosted by UC Master Gardeners, as well as the Richmond Tool Library. We have the 39th Annual Senior Information and Health Fair on Wednesday, May 17th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the auditorium. There will be door prizes, vendors, interactive exercises, and demonstrations. We're also hosting the first citywide youth track meet on May 27th at MLK Park, where youth can participate in events such as 200-meter dash, javelin throwing, and long jumps. And there is a $5 entry fee for that. The Reimagining Public Safety Community Task Force is hosting a community summit on June 3rd from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. We're still working on finalizing the details, but I will be emailing the flyer and information out to all the neighborhood councils. But the date is pretty solid, June 3rd, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Topics to be covered will include traffic safety, harm reduction and overdose prevention, police practices and policies, youth employment, and poverty reduction strategies. And lastly, the Community Service Department, we are hosting the annual July 3rd event on Monday, July 3rd from 5 to 10 p.m. at Marina Bay Park. Fireworks are set to begin at 9:15 p.m. And I know that was a lot. You guys can get this information into your email inboxes every 2 weeks if you sign up for the Recreation e-newsletter, and I will post that link in the chat as I usually do, and I could take any questions. Thank you.
Okay, well, I'll ask a question. How about city organizations? Are the city facilities open to organizations in the city?
You mean for rental or?
For use? Like the task force, they're meeting now in Bermuda room, or?
Yes, they're currently meeting in the Bermuda room.
And so we're gonna, the RNCC is gonna still have to work out the bugs for the Zoom hybrid meeting if we decide to go to hybrid meetings, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And
Any other
then
questions? Oops, sorry.
The council chambers are still reserved for you guys as of now. We just need to let them know on a monthly basis if you're not meeting in person.
Okay. Any other questions? Well, thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. So next we have RPD.
Good evening, everyone. Hey, Donovan Decious here from Richmond Police, the Lieutenant, Southern District, and Traffic, and a handful of other collaterals. Just to update on our staffing levels that we have right now. I believe we are down 29 officer positions on paper. That doesn't really include a lot of the injuries we have. So we are doing a lot of forced overtime, mandatory overtime still. We have 8 officers in the academy, 2 which graduate this Friday. So I'll be at that graduation, and we have currently 8 officers in our field training program. I believe 2 or 3 are set to come off of training in the next month. And then I believe the other 5, they're going to stagger based on their progress through the actual program. And there's I want to say 10 to 15 other officers that are in, or candidates that are in the background process with us right now. So we're trying to get those numbers bolstered as quickly as we possibly can. We don't have any retirements really coming up anytime soon, so hopefully there's not going to be that. We gain 1 and we lose 2 scenario, which we've had a lot over the last several years. In terms of crime statistics throughout the city, I'm just going to go over kind of our 4 biggest ones, which are going to be homicides, sexual assaults, robberies, and burglaries. So we did have our second citywide, our second homicide of the year back in April. Can't get into specifics just because of the nature of the investigation. If people wanted to email me, or I can connect you to our lieutenant, which is the Lieutenant Bashan, who you guys know quite well, who's now our investigations lieutenant. Maybe she'd be able to give some information, but due to the nature of it, we try to keep it a little bit kind of on the down low. So in terms of citywide, we changed 0% on that since we had one in March. Sexual assaults throughout the city were down 45% from 11 to 6. So a good sign there. Robberies down 16% from 19 down to 16 this past month. And then burglaries, unfortunately, have been up 38% from 24 to 33. And that is both residential, commercial burglaries. It's not just one or the other. In terms of district-wide, let me scroll down here. For the Southern District, we had 0 homicides, 0 sexual assaults. So that's down 100% right there. Robberies were up from 3 to 5. So that's a 67% increase. And then our burglaries are up 44%. And that's from 9 to 13 in April. Our Central District, that's actually where our homicide occurred. So that's up from 0 to 1. Sexual assaults are down 50%, 2 to 1. Robberies are up about 25%, and that's from 4 to 5. And then our burglaries in the Northern District are from 4 to 7, so a 75% increase. Northern District, we had 0 homicides, which was outstanding. Our sexual assaults, unfortunately, it's 5 and 5, so it stayed the same, so 0% change on that. Robberies were down 50%, so from 12 to 6. And then our burglaries, that is 0% change, and that was actually, sorry, wrong line. It was up 18% from 11 to 13. In terms of traffic collisions, just throughout the city, we kind of held steady at 40 throughout the entire city. And when I say traffic collisions, some of those are going to be like minor injuries to severe. I believe we had a fatality, I want to say maybe end of March or April. I forgot what the date was. But those collisions are ones which are documented. If it's a non-injury collision, a lot of times we have, per law and policy, the people who are involved in it, they exchange the information. So it's not documented on the actual police report. As people had said earlier, we did have the Juneteenth festivities, Saturday and Sunday, long weekend. It actually went very well. A little rambunctious at the end, clearing the streets out, but that's and kind of how it happens. We do have Juneteenth coming up in the next month. I believe it's on June 17th, which is a Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. I'll be out there for that, organizing that. And then of course we have the July 3rd fireworks extravaganza on Monday, the 3rd. People were asking about parking enforcement or street sweeping and the citations. We still currently only have 3 people in parking. We did interviews. I want to say did interviews last week. I think we interviewed about 8 individuals for 2 spots. So we're moving forward with some of those individuals through the process. Our goal is in the next month or 2 to get 5 people in our parking division, and then getting us back out and citing people, or getting compliance, which is a better way of saying it, to moving their cars. So Carlos and his crew don't just street sweep the center of the roadways. They actually sweep the curbs, which is what this is all about. Other than that, we're just staying busy as always. So I'm open for any questions or concerns or comments.
Naomi, you have a question?
Yes, he said that next month he's gonna have those probably be done hired the people that street sweep. Are all the signs gonna be up in all the neighborhoods that need them before that happens?
We will not cite unless the signs are in compliance. And then we'll obviously work with Carlos or Public Works, Daniel Chavarria, to make sure that everything is in compliance before we go out and do that. In addition to that, we're not just going to go out one specific day. We're on a Friday, we're not doing street sweeping, and a Monday we are. We'll do a campaign where we let the community know, just so they're not blindsided by us going out and doing enforcement actions. But we are going to do our best to make sure everything is in compliance prior to going out and issuing citations.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Outstanding.
Jan?
This afternoon, I was coming home down Cutting by JFK Park High School. Looked like there was an interesting accident there. I don't know. There was a fire truck there, about 4 police cars, and it looked like there was a car in the park. So I don't know if you know anything about it.
I don't today. I actually took today off because I was here for about 38 to 40 hours the last 3 days, or in at work the last 38 or 40 hours the last 3 days. So I don't have specifics on that. What time was it at? Was it in the evening time or like late afternoon?
I was coming down cutting about 10 to 4. It probably happened around 3:30, maybe earlier than that.
Okay,
Yes,
I
there
didn't see
was-
anything. I didn't see anything on what's called our daily log at about 3:30, which happened during the daytime hours. So if it happened before that, it wasn't. I don't want to say significant, but there wasn't going to be a major injury. So I don't know, but I can find out tomorrow, and I'll shoot you an email, let you know, just out of curiosity's sake.
Thank.
Lisa?
Thanks, Lieutenant Decious. Could you comment real quick on vehicle thefts? It seems like, especially over here in the Point, we've had a rash in the last couple weeks. I think just on the weekend there was 7 or 8, all in one night, either broken into or stolen, or somebody stopped somebody from stealing one of them, actually. So I was just wondering if that's specific to our area or if that's throughout the city. Thanks.
So looking at the statistics for Southern District was where your area is, that is up 41% from 32 to 45. Throughout the city, let's see, Central is down 23% from 30 to 23, and then looks like Northern is down 5% from 37 to 35. Unfortunately, from my history, and I don't have specifics as to the reason why it's occurring, but for me and the history of my 20 plus years, it's unfortunately locations and a lot of areas that are closer to, say, freeways, highways, places that have quick ingress and egress tend to get hit a little bit harder. So although I don't have specifics for you today, Lisa, let me look into some of the reports and I can give you a call tomorrow or Wednesday and let you know.
Oh, that would be perfect. And I just
and-
have one comment on that. I want to give a special shout out to you guys. I know you guys stopped a 300 car sideshow from coming into the city at Cutting in Canal.
Yes.
So kudos to you. You chased them down to Oakland, where they did capture quite a few of them. And so I noticed, if you watched, they did a report on it in the East Bay Times, and they showed the video of them torching a car and then somebody taking a car and bashing the torched car on fire. So clearly it was probably a stolen vehicle. So I wanted to know also if the stolen vehicles in town, like you said, if they occur near ingress and egress, that's, an obvious sign. But I also just wondered, do we see an uptick in vehicle thefts on the nights there are sideshows? Because I'm just curious if people are stealing them to participate in those and then just ditch them somewhere.
Normally, no. So normally a lot of the vehicles which are involved in sideshows, they're going to be owned by the people that are partaking in it. And a lot of times they take off the license plates. Because if we see it, so there's a lot of different kind of laws which allow us to do certain enforcement when it comes to sideshows, and it would take longer than what I have right now. But to answer your question, just on face value, no, we don't get an increase of stolen vehicles with sideshows because we tend to scurry them or get them out of town, so they don't have time to commit those crimes. And the cars that they steal, more or less, are going to be either parted out or they're going to be used in some other crime, right? A lot of times when we have shootings and things of that nature, we find the cars later burned and it's an unreported, 10851 or a stolen vehicle. So we don't get on the nights of the sideshows an uptick in stolen vehicles. The only way that we would, I'll say this, usually the only way that we would is because we're tied up on a sideshow and then it's a crime of opportunity for other people because the police are busy and now they can go to a different area, a different neighborhood and not have to worry about someone patrolling it at that point in time.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank
You got it, guys.
All right. Well, take care and stay safe out there.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much.
See you on June 17th for sure.
So anybody here from planning? I didn't see Lina.
I'll see you before that because I'm on the meeting with you.
Oh, okay.
So do we have anybody here from planning? I don't see anybody. No. So we can move on to the city manager's office. That would be Omar.
Hi, everyone. Just a few updates. The Economic Development Commission introduced the 2023 Taste of Richmond. It is scheduled on July 15th from 11 to 4. The event is looking for sponsorships. On May 18th, it is Bike to Work Day. As mentioned before, the solid waste survey is still live, and it is scheduled to close at the end of this month. I'm sure many of you know the agreement with Republic Services is terminating in a few years. So the results of this survey will guide the negotiation process for the new contract. So it'll be very helpful for everyone in Richmond to participate. And please share within your network. PG&E's wildfire mitigation plan, please submit comments by May 26th. The Richmond Housing Authority is hosting a Nevin event on May 19th from 11 a.m. and I believe it ends at 4. The address is 2400 Nevin Plaza. Also, as mentioned before, AC Transit Realigned Survey is live and we encourage everyone to please complete it. So those are all the updates that I have.
All right. Well, thank you much. Any questions, Jan?
Yeah, where are they gonna have the Taste of Richmond this year?
They just now confirmed the date. We'll have more information shortly.
Okay,
I'll make sure to pass that along once we have more details.
thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. Any other questions? Oh, Garland, you have your hand up.
Yes, where is the information about the AC Transit survey?
The AZ Transit Survey, I can copy and paste it into the chat. And we also sent out an email if you're enrolled in the city managers, the city managers listserv.
That answer your question, Garland?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. So for those of you that think we skip fire, they actually asked to present and report at the same time. So without further ado, fire, I believe you're next.
Good evening, Battalion Chief Rico Rincon. Thank you for having me this evening. I'll briefly cover some of our emergency response from last month and then move into some of the items to be covered in tonight's presentation. For our month of April, your fire department responded to 1,068 emergencies. Looks like 110 of those were categorized as fires. 10 out of that 110 would be building fires, and they break down the rest of them into other types of fires. One point of note is about 48 of those fires were considered outside rubbish or waste fires, which would be consistent with where we would categorize our encampment fires as an example, which is always a question. In our EMS and rescue, emergency medical services and rescue category, there's 661 emergencies that the fire department responded to. Hazardous conditions would be 20 as a total. And then we have a category of what we call service calls or public assists, and there are 32 in that category. Another 203 in what we call good intent calls, kind of totals up the overall areas or highlighted areas without getting into the details of call by call, so to speak. Moving on from our call totals into emergency preparedness, which is what I was asked to speak about this evening. One of the things that your fire department is tasked with is the emergency operations plan for the city. An emergency operations plan provides guidance for all types of hazards which may impact the city throughout the year. The emergency operations plan also guides personnel in performance of their duties before and during an emergency, and then also through the initial emergency recovery efforts. And so what does that mean? Your fire department responds to 911 emergencies on a daily basis in the city of Richmond. But when a natural disaster or a city disaster does occur, that requires more resources than what typically the daily response of your Richmond Fire Department would be, all the way to the extent of preparing, let's say, our finance department, other city personnel to aid with logistics, planning to help in putting together that plan, so on and so forth. And so to expand public safety services, all City of Richmond employees on the back of their ID card also says that they're emergency service workers. And so we go through developing a plan and then continued and consistent training to make sure that they are prepared and ready to respond if one of those types of disasters does occur. So as a part of that plan, we conduct trainings and exercises, and then there is the unfortunate occurrence when we do have a disaster, but we do have the opportunity to bring everybody together in that exercises and test the plan as well. One thing that we do have coming up that tests a portion of our plan is an evacuation exercise. Last year, we conducted an exercise in District 4. This year, we have for July 15th scheduled an evacuation exercise that'll be in the Point Richmond area. Battalion Chief Bontempo is coordinating with the Brickyard Cove Council, as well as the West Contra Costa Fire Safe Council to currently plan that exercise. They're in the planning stages. It looks like Lieutenant Decious has left the meeting, but he's been working with us as well as far as the traffic plans are concerned. When we talk about evacuation exercises, you're talking about a lot of vehicles and a lot of people moving out of a concentrated area to safety. So they're working on traffic plans, identifying some of the pinch points where there may be some hazards and trying to navigate around those things in planning. One thing that we're going to try to advertise and market is a good information flow to the residents through our community warning system and some of our social media platforms. Definitely want to educate and make citizens aware of Nixle, how Nixle works, and some of the alerting opportunities there, as well as where to gain information on Nextdoor, some of the other platforms that we may use. I know there was a question that has come up regarding our OES manager recruitment. The latest on OES manager recruitment is that the process is still in the works. Unfortunately, I don't have a timeline for you, but the fire department is working with human resources to fill that position currently. In addition to that, another component that aids us in our emergency operations plan is the community involvement, for an example being our CERT program. We are about a month out from completing a CERT Academy that we've been conducting at fire training on Thursday evenings. And we also have interest cards that will probably fill up about 3 more CERT Academies of citizens for us to continue these academy efforts throughout the next coming seasons. And we're typically running that on like a spring fall schedule. So we have a class now in the spring that'll conclude over the next month. And then we look to hold the next course sometime in the fall. I think that covers what I have to present to you for this evening, and I'm definitely open to any questions.
Naomi, you have your hand up?
Yes. Rico, we had a fire last week, I think it was, over on Ethel Dotson South,
okay.
The International Hotel. Did you ever find out how that fire got started, and was there anybody in there?
So we don't have reports of anyone being inside the building from that fire. As far as cause is concerned, our fire investigators did respond to the incident collected everything that they needed, but that cause is considered still under investigation while they process everything they collected and get back to us on a determined cause. And I can follow up with you further if there's, anything else you need from that incident.
Okay, please.
Lisa?
Oh, hi, Battalion Chief Rincon. Thank you for your report. I put something in the chat. Was just curious if you could share your report, and it looks like you did. I just now see it in the chat. Is that the report that's the link in there?
Yeah. No, that's not my link. That's from.
Oh no, that's Taste of Richmond.
Yeah.
Oh, that's somebody else.
Yeah,
so I was wondering if you could provide the report with the numbers.
Yeah, no problem at all. I'll send that over for distribution.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And congratulations to everybody who recently, you guys had a big promotion ceremony in your in RFD. So congratulations to everybody who recently was promoted.
Thank you, Lisa.
So,
I have a question for you. So we have a city council member that's really involved with fire safety. And when you bring fire safety to the forefront, how can you prevent insurance companies from canceling your insurance? Because it happened to my sister who lives in Coarse Gold. All of that HOA, the insurance company canceled their insurance because of fire, because it was a high fire area. So how does that work? Do you work with the insurance companies and
I could touch on that, Chief Rincon, if you like.
Yep.
Where'd you say your family was at?
Coarse Gold, Central Valley.
So you really can't, you have to decipher between if you live in a very high fire severity zone or not. So basically the rules, the insurance or the guidelines the insurance companies use hinge greatly upon that. So it's not common to find an insurance company to drop someone in the metropolitan area. But when you're in the wildland urban interface, it's not uncommon based on risks, based on fire activity that may have happened previous fire season, that all of a sudden you get a notification that says you were dropped. I'm not aware of anybody in the city of Richmond that's happened to. It's typically out in the more rural areas. But they use a completely different matrix. Like you think when you buy, you have your insurance company looks when you buy and they look at your ISO ratings, they look at fire hydrant spacing, the staffing of the fire department, is it volunteer, is it paid? Totally different matrix when it comes to wildland and wildfire insurance in the urban interface. And the fire department is never consulted on that. And typically what it comes down to is to try to get people from not being dropped as often. Insurance companies are now doing inspections if you live in a high severity zone to see what type of hardening features your home has against wildfire spread. And oftentimes, if you can make some repairs or cleaning, there may be an ability to keep them, but it's a very difficult market. There's a lot of legislation going through to try to force fire insurance companies to work with homeowners because it's becoming very, very difficult to obtain insurance depending where you live. But we haven't heard of any of that happening in the city of Richmond.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Really? No questions? It's like that, huh? Okay, well, thank you guys and enjoy the game, I guess.
Thank you for having us.
And thanks for coming in. We appreciate it.
Good night.
You too. So I don't see anybody that's shown up from planning. So unless anybody wants to represent planning, we'll go back. But I guess we're on to old business now. So any old business? Lori, did you have your hand up? Oh, I just saw your hand. Jan? No old business? New business. Anybody here interested in seeing us going to in-person hybrid Zoom meetings? No? No?
Can I just want to say, this is Suzanne. I just did a hybrid meeting with the Air Quality Board, and it seems that hybrid meetings are pretty challenging. And one of the issues we dealt with was they just had the mics, open mics in the room. And so it was mostly live people, and then there was a few participants on Zoom, and the audio quality was really bad, and it was almost not worth tuning into. So if we do have a hybrid format meeting, that's something that we really need to pay attention to, because for the Zoom participants in a live meeting, it was subpar for the audio. And I'll just throw out there that live meetings sound great to me.
Well, that's good to know, because West County wastewater is considering going to hybrid meetings, and we're trying to work out the audio as well. So if anybody else has Josephine. Josephine,
Yeah, hi, sorry. Yes, so we also had a hybrid meeting, and it was a lunch meeting, and we were told we could not eat our lunch in the meeting because people on Zoom couldn't hear us. So it was kind of defeated the purpose of a lunch meeting when you can't eat because, the people on Zoom can't hear. So I just echo that sentiment that it's not really easy for people on Zoom to hear, even in the best of circumstances.
Jen?
Yeah, we do hybrid meetings at work all the time. We have for years. It's just how you set it up, I think, is the thing. We use polycoms for your speakers, and you basically have to have a computer or a computer monitor that you can use for it to all work. It's not the easiest thing to do, but it might be able to work. We need to talk to some people. I'll talk to my IT people and see what information they can give me. And kind
Sounds
of go
good.
from there.
Yeah, I'd really like to hear from others too, if they've had issues and what kind of issues those were. So we don't run into those. And if we do, then we might have to change. Anyone else? Josephine, you still have your hand up? Okay. Well, that being said, I think we're at the, Jen?
Sorry about that. I was just gonna say that we have 2 people going to NUSA this year. So Rita and Lori are gonna go to NUSA, which will be the end of this month, basically. So we'll have to figure out where we can get them in to do their presentation on all the stuff that they learned. So I'm excited about all that too.
Okay, and I see Gambino, you're in. Do you have anything to say before we leave, or? No? How about Cordell?
No, I think Omar did our announcements for city manager's office.
Okay, sounds good. Cordell, any announcements before we leave? I guess not. Well, I guess this is where we close the meeting, and it's 8/17, May 8th. So,
Ardo, I
Cordell?
had something to say.
Okay.
Yes, yes. So I do apologize for coming on late. I came up with a great idea to something to bring to the board's attention. So I was thinking that at some point, if we can invite Dr. Hurst to come speak to us about what's going on with the district, how it relates to, safety, because school's gonna start. They're gonna resume again in August, and so hopefully we would, if it's possible, to have Dr. Hurst to come speak to us at a future meeting.
Yes, we'll talk to the e-board about it, see if we can get them on board. Suzanne, it looked like you wanted to say something, or no, you're good? Okay, well, it's 8/18, May 8th. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and let's hope the Warriors win, and we'll see you next month.
Yeah, they behind.
Yay.
Absolutely. No, they're not behind. They're
Thank you.
they're a couple
Bye,
points
everybody.
ahead. Bye.
Oh,
Bye.
you can't look,
Bye.
huh?
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.